Hello, George, Phat Ninja Foodforest. Glenn and I were just singing, so the frog singing back. Just gonna go ahead and go do a whole tour. Today is sifting day in the wormery. So I want to show the process, show how we're very gentle on our worms, show how we create the original castings with the cocoons in there, how that goes into the grow out system. Competing with the frog a bit. Also want to talk about what we use to feed the worms. I was watching the Arizona Worm Farm Company. I can't remember the exact name of it. He's well respected in his product. And he's being interviewed by another gentleman. And he was just going on about how local. And I agree with that. He doesn't ship his anywhere. And how everything produced locally would be right for that system that you're in. It'll be produced using those materials. So for us, we're in a food forest here. Got babbling on. I got to move. We have grapes and blueberries. I've gone on this a long time. I'm not going to go on too much. And apples and pears and Asian pears and raspberries and elderberries and mulberries all mixed through here. So taking all the surplus of this, all the green waste, all the nitrogen, and using wood chips. Wood chips delivered for our carbon source. Also our chicken bedding, chickens and ducks. We have a swale system here. So there's 20 continuous swales across the property. And in these swales, I'm growing out of them this year. But even those wood chips that were in there broke down in the last year. We'll add those to the compost as well. So using all this material here, like I said, is the green and the wood chips. We build thermophilic compost, hot compost. Just going to show the abundance within the greenness within a few months of spring. So all this is that nitrogen source, local. Chopping, dropping a lot of that, but also taking a lot of the compost system up here. Like I said, we have a thermophilic compost over here and one out front. We'll look at this one first. I was trying to rush through these videos. I'm not. If you're enjoying it, have a look. If not, fast forward or move on. Time to get to babbling. But so here, I didn't mean that in a rude way. Sorry, that came across wrong. But I listen to myself sometimes. I think people that make these videos, it's hard sometimes to hear yourself so many times saying the same things. You might make 6 of one video trying to get what you want. I don't edit them anymore, so you can always get it live, per se. So that's the newest compost. This is the more finished one over here. We're just finishing up. We use that for a bedding. Even in this, we're going to see a lot of worms probably. And that's the bedding we use for inside. I'll show you. This one's have cooled down already. So those worms have moved into me. There's a bunch inside here now. From here, we'll go out front to where the wood chips are. I'll pause here for that. And we'll see the newest composts. Now it's gotten up to temperature. So here's the wood chip pile. When we hear a local arborist in the area, we'll run over and ask if they don't mind dropping them off. And usually they don't. So we'll get piles in here, allowing us to take these. I've taken weeds from the backyard. And it's very warm to the touch, hot to the touch. You can see we're at about 156, 157 for this pile. I've measured a few places. That's the hottest right there, at the very top of it. It's been there for a couple days. So this will be the start of it, going from wood chips, making a thermophilic compost out of it. I've explained many times, but I flipped that at least 3 times. Taking the center, making it the outside, top the inside. Next to the bottom would be the inside. So everything ends up on that inside. For the temperatures themselves, it needs to be above 141 to kill those weed seeds and pathways to disease pathogens. And we want to get that whole pile up to that temperature. So that's why we make that thermophilic compost. From there, we talked about how, pause for a moment, talked about how it goes from there to sitting as long as possible. So stirred 3 times, then let it sit as long as possible. Bring that fungal component in it. That way you're not stirring it up too much. Letting those hyphae inside of there move throughout the pile. From there it becomes bedding. We also use wood chips from the yard. We have multiple swales here. Well, look at this as we go through the backyard as well. Being live, I realized I was repeating myself, getting into the swales again. But yeah, there's multiple swales across here, front yard to the backyard. There's even little catch ponds within those. It's just another source of bedding. They're composting in place, but it's not a hot compost. It's more of a fungal compost. A slower, colder compost. Beautiful red cardinal just flew in right there. Oh, there he goes eating. He's eating gummy berries. A tree full of gummy berries right next to that. And just gorging on them. We'll digress for just a moment. I think make him out in there. Oh, there he goes. So that abundance, bring that abundance. Us doing the thermophilic compost with it. The more of a fungal dominant compost from the catch ponds and the swale systems. That here is the worm farm. We have a breeding system over there. I'll be repeating myself for some people. So the breeding system is set up on a 3-week rotation, and that allows the cocoons not to hatch. In a perfect world, they start hatching at 21 to 28 days. So every week, we sift a row of bins. On the 4th week, we'll be starting over in the first one. So in 3 weeks, it gets sifted and put into here, where we feed from one end to the other, calling the worms out. Because of that, in the top of this, you're going to see a ton of worms, mostly baby worms hatching, but all different ages. And they're helping make sure that the compost from there that's not finished after the 3 weeks, which it's pretty close at that point, is finished in here. In here, we'll top it with the bedding from there, alternating with thermophilic compost from outside. This is what we start with. It even has a few worms in it, like I said. But we'll top dress that a couple inches at a time, feed it. A couple days later, we'll be time to sift these beds again. Here's our finished compost over here. This has been sifted, most of the worms removed. There still will be some cocoons in there. A few baby worms. We only use a 1/4-inch sifter. That's right here. Put on top of here and sift. There's the most recent siftings. And from there we package it. I've got one right over here. We'll also be going to 1/2 gallon and 5 gallon. So there's our finished product. Boy, I gotta not touch these with dirty hands. Here, I'll set the camera up. This shows these breeder bins. Once a week, I'll remove the tops. See a few worms on the top. They'll dive quickly with the light on them. And I'll slowly pull back the castings from the top, and they'll all dive out of sight. I'll take the first inch or so, stop, move on to the next bin, doing the same thing. And these castings that I pull out of here, is where we'll see all these cocoons. It's probably too dark down here. Come have a look. So these just have a ton of cocoons in them. All over the place. We get down into here. They're just loaded with worms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, They're all over the place. So approximately 1,000 cocoons for each bed. Could be even more at this point. I'm actually heavy in worms. I weighed the worms last week, first time in a while, and it's supposed to be a ½ pound per bin. I was closer to a pound. So each of these is what gets sifted. I'll pull these out of here, get all the worms out. I'll reset these with that thermophilic compost, gone static for as long as possible. That'll be the bedding. 3 weeks, we'll remove that. Again, I'm repeating myself, putting it in here, feeding this batch bin from one end to the other. By the time you get to the other end, we've just gone this way and turned around and we're coming back. We'll have a beautiful compost left behind. There'll be a few worms left in it, but not many. And that's what I'll sift out into the finished compost. And from there, into the bag as we saw. Or we have a 5-gallon option and a 1-gallon option. Go out here just a little prettier to finish. I was going to make it a long video, but you don't want to see me removing all that. I might make a short video at the end showing how the worms get removed. Again, I'm George, Phat Ninja Foodforest Wormery. If I see this on YouTube or Facebook, you can comment there. You can reach us at our website or 828-275-9800. We do classes, tours, and consultations for other properties for permaculture. Change better than a holiday. Have a great day.